All right. Who else? We got anything? Stacy, you got anything? Any experiences that have come up?
I have more of a
Thanks, John,
question
for
than
that.
um, the part of like dragging out and not eating, fasting to start my day is super easy for me. I tend to not even think about it or get hungry until like, 11, 12, 1 o'clock, depending on.
Mhm.
But my question, I guess, is um, sometimes I'll eat that first meal and, somewhere between 11 and 1. And then sometimes depending on what I'm doing, I don't I don't get an opportunity to eat another meal again until like sometimes it's 7, 8, sometimes it's even like 9 or 10. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm starving.
Yeah.
But then it's too late. And I'm like, well, I don't want to eat that late. So then I go to bed and then I've only eaten one meal because
Yeah.
I don't want to eat that late. And that doesn't really serve me either. So I've struggled with that a lot this last week where then I feel like I don't think I even got 500 or 600 calories for the day. And then I wake up the next morning and though I'm hungry, I just fight through it and I
Yeah.
don't eat again
Yeah.
until 11 o'clock or so because I'm making sure I stick to that
So,
routine, but I'm not serving myself very well that way.
yeah. So you notice that two meals feels better for sure, but
For
it's
sure.
it's hard. But if you only get one meal in, then your appetite and your cravings when you do eat are just like through the roof, and it makes it harder
Yeah.
to fast in the morning and stuff like that. So I don't know. Like, how would you, if you were giving advice to someone going through something similar, knowing your work situation, like what would you, what's a good solution to that? Have you tried map looking at an ideal day? And I mean, is it like absolutely impossible to have anything at work or earlier?
It's not, and I'm not sure if it's just like in my own mind, but I kind of feel like sometimes I only have just a few minutes and I don't want to like put anything in my mouth because I'm like, well, once I'm going to eat something, then I want to make sure I have enough time to really eat.
Mm-hmm.
So then I just don't eat it all. But then I'm like, well, but then I just blew it because then that was the only opportunity I had to really eat, and now it's 9 o'clock at night and I didn't eat anything, and now it's too late and I'm not going to eat it all. So
What were you doing before?
I was eating what I could when I could.
Like snacking throughout the whole workday or
Yeah,
something like that?
yeah.
Okay.
And obviously I don't want to go back to doing that. So
Yeah. Yeah. And you're
so
feeling good
I'm
and seeing some
sure
good
there
results.
is a balance, but I'm just now that I'm noticing all these things, I'm just trying to figure out, it's just
Well, I think, like we've said before, and I think we even said this at our last meeting, the fact that you're this engaged with it and aware is a beautiful thing in and of itself, right? So it's like we're going to find a way to work with it, and the reality is that we all have to figure out how to make this work in a crazy modern lifestyle because the craziness is not. I don't think it's going to stop for most of us. If anything, it's going to get more crazy because we just evolve in our careers and we just add to what we got, right? So I don't know that there's a perfect answer here, but do you mind if I just share a couple of things like that just come to mind? And then I don't know if
yeah.
anybody else has some ideas. So like first of all, if you're eating the right things, then I think sometimes we get caught up in this whole space and only need to eat two meals. And if I eat in between there, I'm gonna mess things up somehow or something like that. Does that resonate with you at all? Like you feel like if you
Yeah.
eat throughout, okay. So if we're just eating real food, right? And let's just say that you did take a couple of breaks and you had a couple of snacks, but it was real food. It was nutritious. It was focused on the animal foods and some plants and minimizing your carbs and all that stuff. You're still going to look, feel, and perform great. So that's the biggest win, right? I feel like we want to do what we need to do to function well. That's probably more of a priority than forcing this number of meals and getting caught up in this little trap that you're in about not being able to eat or something like that. Um,
Okay.
Maybe just think of we said this before at meetings too, like let's do an experiment, right? So this doesn't mean that it has to be, you can always come back to what you're doing right now, which is it's working, it's not optimal, but it's giving you some results, right? But we could do an experiment where we say, okay, hey, for this week I'm going to try this different approach, which would be You have your meal at whatever, 11, 12, 1, and then you have a planned mini meal or something like that, a snack or something. And maybe you visualize where that could fit in. And for that week, you're just seeing how that makes things different or better or worse or something like that, right? Does that resonate with you? Does it sound like it kind of makes sense?
Yeah, for
And
sure.
then what about a full-blown dinner? Do you not have an opportunity to have like a dinner? Like a sit
Not
down? No?
not those 3 or 4 days during the week.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
Oh, so it's only a few days
Yeah,
a
it's
week.
only 3 or 4 days during the week.
Okay. And then on the other days you have like a good
The other
little
days I
meals.
do 2 meals. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
What
I'll,
time is that other meal at on those good days or easy
I'll
days?
do like 11 or 12, and then I'll do 5 or 6.
Okay. I mean, maybe an experiment would be to have a 5 or 6 planned, not a meal, but like a snack,
Right,
or something that you feel like you could squeeze in.
right.
I don't know if that's possible.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
And everything that we do, by the way, it is an experiment, right? We've got a lifetime to tinker with this stuff. And sometimes our mindset inadvertently is like this kind of like a permanence, like how do I figure I can't do that because that's not this or something, right? Versus we could say, well, let me give this a shot this way for a week and see how it feels. Maybe I'll learn something else, and maybe I can come up with a new experiment or something like that. But so based on everything that we just said there, do you have any other ideas, or what do you feel like is going to be a good first experiment for you?
no, I mean, it will just work itself out. It has been, and I'll just, keep pushing through it. And
Well, how do you feel about like having something prepared, like even though it might not be as big as a normal meal, but just getting something in?
yeah, and maybe even, and that's kind of what I was trying to do, but it just didn't work this week very well for me. But I just need to be better prepared with some um,
Some-
more substantial food that
Something
I can,
that's already made or something like that.
yeah, and just that I can get down real quick and that'll fill me.
You have some ideas on specifically what that is?
Yeah, like just either meat or cheese or something that, because I'm good with like like I'm usually it's a vegetable of some kind
Mhm.
that I'll just grab and eat, but it doesn't sustain me. Then it's almost like a teaser because then I'm hungry again, like within an hour,
Yeah.
because then
So
I've got myself thinking about food,
yep,
and that's
yep.
what ended up
So
happening.
that's great experiential wisdom, right? That you're intuitively and by yourself experientially learning that just a little bit of veggies, even though they're great and healthful, it's not giving you the sustenance that you need to make it through the space. And by the way, when you're doing a lot of this intense kind of mental brain activity work stuff, it's very energy demanding, right? Stressful in the
Right,
body. So maybe even just swapping that out with something that's protein based or maybe some leftovers or something like that could have a dramatic impact.
right. Yeah, because otherwise I'm better to just not have anything. And that's kind of what I was, unfortunately, that's where I felt like by the last day, I was like, I'm just not going to eat anything because I was doing better not having anything than the first 2 days where I was eating veggies, thinking I was serving myself by at least having something, but it was actually counterproductive.
It was making you more hungry.
It was making me more hungry. Then I
Yeah.
was just focusing on how hungry I was instead
Yeah.
of, so,
Yeah.
anyways.
Yeah, so I got some ideas. I'll send you some specific kind of snack recommendations. I hate to call them snacks because we say we don't snack, but they're
Right.
smaller,
But
they're
food stuff that I
pre-prepared
can
type
eat quickly.
things. And the SHT meals are freaking, they're great. Like most of us
Yeah,
eat them
I need
dry,
to just jump on that link and yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
that'd be a good option. Okay, cool.
Yep.
So I'll share some ideas with you. So awesome. Thank you for
Perfect.
being open enough to bring that up in front of
Yeah.
everyone. I don't know
Thank
if
you.
anyone else has any ideas or comments or
Well,
what. Kara has her hand up.
yeah, I don't know if this would work for you, but I found that eating while I'm driving on my commute is really efficient, and you're just driving and you're just sitting there. So you can even concentrate on chewing your food well.
Hmm.
And I often use that time for a meal, and you can just meditate, enjoy your food, chew. You could have your meat prepared ahead of time. I don't know. I don't mind eating stuff cold or room temperature. I personally don't have to heat stuff, and I often don't. So I don't know. It's just an idea of a place where you could enjoy a meal.
I love that. Yeah.
I guess the longer the commute, the better. Maybe you could, eat and chew and enjoy for a really long time. If it's only 10 minutes, well, that's still 10 minutes of, just really having a chance to just sit and eat while driving.
Yep. Yeah. And that kind of goes into visualizing, like looking at your day and saying, okay, so where can I fit this in? And that's a creative place that we can fit it in. And we might not have ever thought of that. So I think that's awesome. So that maybe just thinking about where in my day can this fit in, and then making sure that we're just going to swap it out with something a little bit more kind of protein and fat based to give us a little bit more nourishment so that we can kind of sustain ourselves. Cool. I love that. Thanks, Cara. What else we got? Haley, y'all got anything over there?
Hi, guys. Yes, I was just I'm kind of similar to Stacy on that, in that I am shifting a little bit of how or when I'm eating. We're typically late dinner people just because we don't get home till about 8:45 or 9 at night. And so, at that point, like our time is shifted, but I do find that I'm not really eating a breakfast anymore, which is okay. I don't feel the need for it typically until actually about now typically, but on the nights when it's been pretty late lately, I've just been kind of skipping it. Like I haven't felt as hungry at that point. I've had a bigger lunch here at the office or something. And then I'm just waiting, and then like I'll eat, earlier, like I just had a smoothie a minute ago that Tati brought us. So like I'll just have that instead, and then push lunch till like 2:30 or 3. So not necessarily like sticking to like a strict regimen on time necessarily, more just like listening to my body and letting it tell me like, you're hungry, so eat something. Like it doesn't have to be this crazy rule following situation on like time for me, as much as it's like, if your body says you're hungry, then like have your meal now. And if when I would have normally had my meal at 8:45 or 9, like I'm finding I'm not really hungry, then like it's not like this forced rule where I have to, eat an actual dinner. So
what we're figuring out here is, number one, it's liberating to have the freedom to not have to eat when we think we're supposed to eat. And at the same time, I think it's great if we have the ability to be a little bit intuitive with like listening to our body and not forcing ourselves not to eat when we actually feel like we need to eat. So I think the consistent theme with all of that is just being prepared. Like, if we can, looking at a day or the week and saying, okay, when am I going to need to have something at work or something? Because I know it's going to be a late night this night or probably, or something like that. Just a little bit of pre-planning or a little bit of intention really, really does go a long ways. Having a backup plan, and I hate to keep making the plug for the meals, but the SHT meals or some epic meat bars or, something along those lines that you can always have available just in case. And I think that's it. Snack ideas and things. If I had to summarize, aside from the talking to family and friends points that we talked about, I guess on the whole topic with what Stacy had brought up, visualizing the days that are crazy and trying to figure out like, what's my best approach here? Just a little intention goes a long way. Acknowledging that when we eat, well, the intuitiveness that Haley was talking about, right? It's like there's some freedom that comes from not having to eat when we're supposed to eat, but there's also this responsibility to make sure that we eat when we feel like we need to, versus forcing space and fasting, because that's not what we want to do. And if our default is real food and better ingredients, like even if we eat 3 or 4 times in a day, it's totally fine because it's way better than what we were doing before. But a little bit of intention goes a long way. Looking at our crazy days, figuring out like, when am I going to fit this in? I know I got a crazy day coming up on Wednesday, and being prepared with some meals, acknowledging that the sustenance, the animal foods, the healthy fats, maybe even a little bit of carby stuff, some fruit or something like that might be a little bit better. But the sustenance thing is probably really important on those crazy days. And it sounds like you guys are doing amazing. I'm really, really proud of you.